I was standing outside the door with a gift in my hands when I heard her voice. How wonderful that my worthless father didn't come. My daughter was raising a glass to my absence. I quietly closed the door and left. 30 minutes later, her birthday turned into the worst nightmare of her life. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The birthday cake sat on the counter, untouched. White frosting, no candles. I'd stopped bothering with those years ago. 62 felt like any other number now, just another rotation around the sun that mattered to nobody but me. I stood at the townhouse window, watching the Chicago sunset bleed orange across Lake Michigan, my reflection ghosting over the view. Lincoln Park stretched below, families walking dogs, couples holding hands. I turned away. The silence had weight. It pressed against my eardrums, filled my lungs. I'd grown accustomed to it over the years, this particular species of quiet that comes from being deliberately forgotten. The whiskey in my glass caught the dying light. I raised it toward my reflection in the darkening window. Then my phone shattered the moment. I actually flinched. 3 months since the last call, and I'd trained myself not to expect anything different. But there it was, Faye's name illuminated on the screen. My hand trembled as I reached for it. Pathetic, really. A grown man shaking over a phone call from his own daughter. "Hello? Happy birthday, Dad." Her voice came through flat, transactional, no warmth, just words fulfilling an obligation. 62, right? Listen, I'm calling because my birthday's in 2 weeks. I'm turning 35. I stopped breathing for a second. 35. When had that happened? In my mind, she was still 8 years old, gap-toothed and laughing, before everything fractured. "That's wonderful, Faye." I kept my voice steady, careful. "I'd love to celebrate with you. Would you like me to come?" The pause stretched long enough that I thought the connection had dropped. I moved across the living room, stopping at the bookshelf where her childhood photo still sat in its silver frame. 8 years old, pigtails, that smile that used to light up rooms. "I'm keeping it small," she finally said. Each word landed like a stone. "Just friends, really, no family." The rejection was familiar, expected even, but it still hollowed me out. I touched the frame, leaving a fingerprint on the glass. "Well, I suppose you could come." Her tone shifted, and I recognized that calculation immediately. I'd heard it before, knew what came next. "If you handle the venue, the Capitol Grill, 25 people, can you manage that?" There it was, the price of admission. My value reduced to a credit limit and a checkbook. I should have said no. Should have protected myself the way any reasonable person would. But reasonable people don't spend 3 months waiting for their daughter to acknowledge their existence. "Of course." The words came out before I could stop them. "I'll take care of everything. Just tell me the date and time. I'm grateful you're including me. Saturday, July 22nd, 6 o'clock. Her delivery was crisp, businesslike. "Don't be late, Dad, and don't make it awkward. Milton and I have planned this for weeks. I'll text you the details." The line went dead. No goodbye, no affection, just the hollow silence of a disconnected call. I stood there holding the phone, staring at Faye's photo. The little girl in the frame wouldn't recognize the woman who just hung up on me. I moved to the couch and sat heavily. The townhouse felt enormous suddenly, all this space for one person. Outside, the streetlights flickered on. Saturday night in Chicago, and I was alone with an untouched cake and a daughter who only called when she needed money. But she'd called? That had to mean something. I forced myself to stand, crossed to my desk in the corner. The leather surface was neat, organized, habit from my years in finance. I pulled out my checkbook, opened my planner. The mechanical act of writing helped. July 22nd, Faye's birthday, the Capitol Grill, deposit. My hand moved steadily across the page, each letter deliberate. 25 guests at the Capitol Grill wasn't cheap. Easily 8,000 or 9,000. Maybe more if Faye wanted premium everything, which she would. I'd be paying for people I'd never met to celebrate my daughter, while she tolerated my presence as a condition of my financial contribution. I knew this, recognized the pattern, saw the manipulation clear as daylight, and I was going to do it anyway. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe if I showed up, if I gave her this celebration, if I proved I could be what she needed, maybe she'd remember I was still her father. Maybe 35 would be the age when she stopped punishing me for the divorce, for choosing myself over her mother's toxicity, for all the ways I'd apparently failed her. I closed the checkbook slowly. The leather cover made a soft sound against the desk. 2 weeks, 14 days until I could sit in the same room as my daughter, see her smile even if it wasn't directed at me, hear her voice without a phone line between us. I could make this right. I had to believe that. The sunset had finished while I sat there. Chicago had gone dark outside my window, the city lights replacing the day. I picked up my whiskey glass, still full, still untouched. Then I walked to the kitchen and poured it down the sink. The cake followed, scraped into the trash, box and all. 62 years old, and I was still hoping my daughter might love me. I arrived at the Capitol Grill on Tuesday morning. The restaurant occupied a corner downtown, all dark wood and brass fixtures, the kind of place that whispered money without shouting it. A hostess led me through the main dining room to a private office where the manager waited. Mr. Taylor, he stood, extending his hand. Professional warmth, genuine smile, the kind of treatment I used to take for granted before my family taught me it was a luxury. "We're delighted to host your daughter's celebration. Please sit." We settled into leather chairs. He slid a portfolio across the desk, opened it to reveal menu options, wine lists, photographs of their private dining room. "The private room holds 30 comfortably," he said. "With the premium menu and wine pairings, we're looking at approximately $9,000 for 25 guests. I'll need $4,500 as deposit." I pulled out my checkbook. "That's fine. I want everything perfect. She mentioned your lobster once. Make sure that's included. And the wine list, your sommelier's recommendations, not the basic options." He made notes, nodding. "Absolutely. We'll take excellent care of you." The transaction took 20 minutes. I signed the check with a steady hand, watching him process the deposit with efficient professionalism. When I left, I had a confirmation packet and a lighter checking account. But something else too, a small flame of purpose I hadn't felt in months. From the restaurant, I walked 3 blocks to a jewelry store I'd passed 100 times. The display cases gleamed under careful lighting. A young woman approached, but I already knew what I wanted. There, in the second case, diamond earrings, teardrop-shaped, the exact style Faye had mentioned 2 years ago. I'd been driving her to the airport, and she'd pointed at a magazine advertisement. "Those are stunning," she'd said. Just a casual comment, probably forgotten the moment after she spoke it. But I'd remembered. "Those earrings," I told the jeweler, "the diamonds." She unlocked the case, brought them out. "Excellent choice. These are 1.2 carats each, VS1 clarity. 2,800. I watched her wrap them in a navy blue box, silver ribbon, precise and elegant. The package felt substantial in my hand when she passed it across the counter. Weight and promise. Back home, I placed the gift box on my desk beside my calendar. July 22nd was circled in red ink, Faye's birthday 2 weeks away. I poured coffee, sat down, allowed myself to imagine her opening the box. Maybe she'd smile. Maybe she'd remember I'd been listening when she mentioned them. My phone rang. I glanced at the screen. Milton Wilson, my son-in-law, though I'd stopped thinking of him that way after the first year of marriage. I answered anyway. "Archie!" His voice came through loud, presumptuous. "Good timing. Listen, I'm launching something big. Sustainable food delivery, zero emissions, market's ready, investors are circling. I need $50,000 to scale up. Family investment, you know? Faye says you're coming to the party, so I figured." I stood, moved to the window. "Milton, I appreciate you thinking of me, but I don't invest in early-stage ventures. I'm sure you understand. I need to go." "Don't invest in family, you mean?" His tone shifted, turned sharp. "Good fathers support their kids' families, Archie. After what Faye went through because of your divorce, you owe this. 50,000 is nothing to someone like you, unless you don't actually care about—" "Goodbye, Milton." I ended the call, stood there gripping the phone, jaw tight. Outside, Lincoln Park sprawled, green and indifferent. Joggers passed below. Life continued while I processed what had just happened. $50,000. Demanded, not requested. With guilt attached, leverage applied. After everything Faye went through because of your divorce. The familiar refrain, the script they'd perfected, my ex-wife had trained our daughter well in the art of making me the villain. I returned to my desk, opened the bottom drawer. The file folder sat where I had left it 5 years ago, thick with legal documents. I pulled it out, spread the papers across my desk, property deed, transfer documents, notarized signatures. The Naperville house, 4 bedrooms, finished basement, good neighborhood. Worth $300,000 when I'd signed it over to Faye. No mortgage, free and clear. My divorce gift. My apology for choosing sanity over a toxic marriage. She'd been 30 then, newly married to Milton, and I'd wanted to help them start fresh. She'd accepted the deed without a thank you. Milton had immediately suggested I co-sign a home equity line of credit. When I'd refused, the invitations stopped, the calls dried up, until they needed something else. I studied the signatures, mine, Faye's, the notary's stamp. Evidence of generosity met with silence. But the party was different. She'd invited me this time, even with conditions. That had to mean something. Maybe she was finally ready to move past the divorce, past the bitterness her mother had cultivated. Maybe turning 35 had given her perspective. I gathered the documents, returned them to the drawer. The past was past. I needed to focus forward. 2 weeks. I'd already paid the deposit, bought the gift. The calendar mocked me from the desk. Each day crossed off was another day closer to sitting in that restaurant, seeing my daughter celebrate surrounded by friends I'd never met, being tolerated because I'd purchased the privilege. I knew what this was, knew I was being used. But knowledge and action are different things. And I'd learned long ago that hope makes fools of desperate men. I closed the drawer carefully. The navy box with Faye's earrings caught the afternoon light. Outside, Chicago moved through another ordinary day. Inside, I counted down to Saturday, July 22nd. 14 days until I could pretend my daughter still loved me. I left my townhouse at 6:15, the gift box secured on the passenger seat beside me. Navy blue with silver ribbon, elegant and substantial. I'd checked it 3 times before leaving, making sure the wrapping remained perfect. The earrings inside represented more than money. They were proof I'd been listening, proof I remembered. Chicago traffic moved steadily through Lincoln Park. I took Clark Street south, merged onto the Kennedy Expressway heading downtown. The dashboard clock read 6:18, fashionably late, not disrespectfully so. I'd timed this carefully, then brake lights flooded the highway ahead. Traffic ground to a complete stop. I gripped the steering wheel, watching cars packed together in all 3 lanes. In the distance, emergency sirens wailed. Red and blue lights flickered against the evening sky. An accident, blocking at least 2 lanes. The clock ticked to 6:22, then 6:27. My chest tightened. I pulled out my phone, typed quickly. Stuck in traffic, accident ahead. Be there soon. Love, Dad. Sent it to Faye. The message showed delivered. No response appeared. I set the phone in the cup holder and watched the minutes crawl by. 6:34, 6:38. The traffic crept forward in tiny increments. Horns blared around me, drivers leaning out windows trying to see ahead. I could make out the accident now. 2 cars, serious damage, emergency vehicles everywhere. Police waved traffic through a single lane. By the time I cleared the accident site and reached normal speed, the clock read 6:43. My hands were damp on the steering wheel. I pulled into the restaurant's parking garage at 6:45, found a spot on the 2nd level. The gift box sat where I'd placed it, ribbons still perfect despite the stop-and-go journey. I checked my reflection in the rearview mirror, straightened my tie. Deep breath. This was still salvageable. 25 minutes late wasn't disastrous. The main restaurant hummed with Saturday evening energy. Classical music played softly over the sound of conversation and silverware against china. Warm lighting, dark wood, brass fixtures, everything polished and professional. Other diners barely glanced at me as I walked through, heading toward the private rooms and back. The corridor narrowed. I could hear celebration sounds growing louder. Music, laughter, the distinctive ring of glasses being clinked together. My heart rate picked up. Almost there. The private room door appeared ahead. I paused, shifting the gift box to my left hand, reaching for the handle with my right. Through the wood, I could hear Faye's voice rising above the others, bright and clear. I cracked the door open just a few inches. Stayed in the hallway shadow where no one inside could see me. "Friends, I want to make a toast." Faye's voice came through crystalline, performatively cheerful. "To my worthless father, who paid for this entire celebration and didn't bother showing up. Here's hoping he's finally disappeared from my life for good." The words hit like physical blows. I stood frozen, hands still on the door handle. "Here! Here!" someone shouted. Laughter erupted. Glasses clinked enthusiastically. "Cheers to that!" another voice called out. "Free meal courtesy of the no-show dad!" More laughter, rolling through the room like waves. Then Milton's voice, loud and deliberately cruel. "To the old failure's absence, best gift he could give us." The laughter intensified. Applause broke out. Through the crack in the door, I could see bodies moving, people raising glasses, faces bright with celebration. My daughter's party, my money, their entertainment. I stood absolutely motionless. 10 seconds passed, maybe 15. The parking garage fluorescent lights hummed behind me. The party sounds continued. Someone started a new conversation. Music resumed. I carefully, silently closed the door, made sure it didn't make a sound. Then I turned and walked back through the corridor, through the main dining room. "Sir? Mr. Taylor?" The hostess looked up as I passed her station, concern crossing her face. "Is everything all right with your party? There's been a change of plans." My voice came out steady, controlled. "The party continues without me." I kept walking, through the restaurant entrance, into the parking garage, footsteps echoing off concrete, up the stairs to the second level. I reached my car, still holding the gift box. My hands were steady. I sat in the driver's seat, engine off, staring straight ahead. The parking garage fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in flat white. The gift box sat beside me on the passenger seat. I didn't look at it. 5 minutes passed. I didn't move. My mind replayed Faye's toast with perfect clarity, each word distinct and sharp, not emotional replay, clinical analysis. Worthless father who paid for this entire celebration and didn't bother showing up. The craftsmanship of it impressed me, in a detached way. She'd constructed the narrative carefully. I was the villain. She was the victim, celebrating her liberation. Except, I had shown up. I'd been 25 minutes late due to circumstances beyond my control. And she'd delivered that toast, knowing I'd paid, knowing I'd tried to come, knowing exactly what she was doing. The guilt I'd carried for years, the divorce, the broken family, my failure as a father, suddenly looked different under examination. My ex-wife had left me for another man. That was documented fact. I'd fought for custody and lost, because mothers had advantage in Illinois courts, because my ex-wife had poisoned Faye against me systematically, year after year. I'd given Faye the Naperville house, free and clear, $300,000, no mortgage. She'd never said thank you. Tonight I'd agreed to pay $9,000 for her birthday party. She'd used that money to host a celebration of my absence while I sat in traffic desperately trying to reach her. The pattern became visible, mathematical, guilt manufactured, generosity expected, gratitude withheld, exploitation normalized. I'd been enabling this, participating in my own diminishment. My jaw set, my shoulders straightened. I reached for my phone with a steady hand. 35 years practicing law, corporate contracts, real estate transactions, family settlements. I knew exactly how systems worked. Legal mechanisms, financial instruments, contractual obligations. Knowledge was leverage, and I'd forgotten I possessed any. I scrolled through my contacts, found Herman Davis, corporate law specialist, worked at the same firm for 15 years before I'd gone independent. We'd handled complex negotiations together. He answered on the second ring. "Herman, it's Archie Taylor. I need 10 minutes of your expertise tonight. Corporate contract law. Are you available?" Brief pause. "Archie, this is unusual timing. What's the context?" "I have a deposit payment situation that requires immediate reversal. The authorization window hasn't closed." "I see." Herman's tone shifted to professional mode. "Yes, technically if final payment hasn't been rendered and services haven't been fully delivered, you have recourse. Send me the contract details. I'll forward them within the hour. One more question. Property transfer reversal. If a gift deed was signed 5 years ago, but consideration was promised and never delivered, can that transfer be challenged?" Longer pause. "That's more complex. Depends on documentation, stated conditions, whether fraud can be established. Why are you asking about this tonight?" "Just confirming my understanding. Thank you, Herman." I ended the call, scrolled to the next number, the Capitol Grille's main line. 3 rings, then a voice answered. "This is Archie Taylor. I'm calling about the private event tonight in your Wabash room, the Taylor party. There's been a significant contractual issue. I need to speak with you in person within the hour." The voice hesitated. "Sir, the party is currently in progress. Perhaps we could schedule—" "No, I need to speak with your manager tonight. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I ended that call too. Pulled up my bank's 24-hour service line, navigated through the automated menu, reached a representative. "I need to stop an authorized payment that's pending settlement. Account number 7743218. The payment to the Capitol Grill, $4,500. "One moment, sir." Keyboard clicking. "That payment is currently in pending status. Hasn't cleared our authorization window. You want to revoke authorization?" "Yes, immediately." "I'll need your authorization code and security verification." I provided the information from memory: account numbers, verification codes, security answers, everything precise and systematic. The representative confirmed the stoppage would process within minutes. I set the phone in the cup holder, looked at the gift box one more time, then I started the engine. The legal framework was clear. The deposit could be challenged under contractual breach. Services weren't delivered as specified because the event's nature had been misrepresented. The Naperville house transfer could potentially be examined under gift fraud statutes if I could establish that familial relationship was the stated consideration and had been deliberately withheld. These weren't emotional reactions. These were legal corrections. I'd spent 35 years practicing law, understanding leverage, negotiating settlements. I knew property law, contract law, estate planning. I knew how to dismantle financial structures and rebuild them. I knew exactly where vulnerabilities existed in transactions I'd personally executed. They wanted me gone. They'd get their wish, on my terms. I shifted into drive and pulled toward the garage exit. The party upstairs would continue for another hour, maybe longer, music and laughter and celebration of my worthlessness. They had no idea their celebration was about to change. The gift box sat beside me as I drove out into Chicago's evening. The earrings inside caught light from passing street lamps through the wrapping. 2.4 carats of diamonds for a daughter who toasted my absence. I wasn't angry. Anger was emotional, impulsive, wasteful. This was colder, professional, methodical. I'd built them up with my money, my guilt, my desperate need for connection. Now I'd systematically dismantle what I'd built. Not revenge, correction, restoration of balance. The weakness was gone. The hope that had driven me to that restaurant, that had kept me sending checks and accepting contempt, it had burned away in those 10 seconds outside the party room door. I turned onto Michigan Avenue, heading back toward the restaurant's main entrance. I had a meeting with a manager to arrange, contract terms to discuss, legal mechanisms to deploy. This ended tonight, but it ended correctly. I walked through the front doors at 7:15, the main entrance, not the back corridor where I'd fled 30 minutes earlier. The same hostess from before glanced up, recognition crossing her face along with confusion. "Could you notify your manager I'm here? Archie Taylor. We spoke on the phone." She nodded, picked up her station phone. I stood in the lobby holding my briefcase, watching other diners enter and leave, couples dressed for Saturday evening, oblivious to the precision strike happening in their midst. The manager appeared within 2 minutes, mid-40s, professional in dark suit, extending his hand with practiced warmth that didn't quite reach his eyes. He'd sensed trouble in my phone call. "Mr. Taylor, please come to my office." His office sat off the main hallway, small but well-appointed. Mahogany desk, leather chairs, restaurant awards framed on walls. We sat across from each other. I opened my briefcase, extracted the contract copy and bank confirmation printout, slid them across his desk with the deliberate care of presenting evidence. "I need to discuss the Taylor party payment. The deposit authorization has been stopped as of 20 minutes ago. Here's the bank confirmation. The contract specified final settlement after services rendered. I'm exercising the termination clause in Section 4. His face shifted through several expressions as he read. Confusion, disbelief, growing concern. He picked up the bank confirmation, studied it closely. "Mr. Taylor, I don't understand." His voice remained professional, but tension crept in. "The party is happening right now, upstairs. Your daughter's celebration. 25 guests have been dining for over an hour. The bar tab alone is... This is highly irregular." I leaned forward slightly. Check section 4, paragraph 2. Deposit is conditional on contract completion. I'm terminating the agreement effective immediately. The outstanding balance is no longer my responsibility. It belongs to whoever is hosting that party. He flipped through the contract pages, found the relevant section, read it twice, set it down, and reached for his phone, dialed internal extension. Accounting? Pull up the Capitol Grill party, Taylor reservation, check deposit status. Pause. His jaw tightened. I see. Thank you. He set the phone down slowly, looked at me with an expression mixing respect and concern. The authorization was indeed stopped. The deposit hasn't cleared. Another pause. Mr. Taylor, that party has already consumed $6,200 in food and beverages. If you're exercising termination, someone upstairs needs to settle immediately. That would be the hosts, my daughter and her husband. They're aware of this? Not yet, but they will be shortly. He sat back, calculating options. Restaurant liability, customer service, contract enforcement, potential police involvement. I watched him work through it, reaching the inevitable conclusion. I'll need to collect payment directly from them. You understand this will interrupt their celebration? I understand completely. He stood, opened his office door, called for the head waiter. A young man appeared, professional in black vest and bow tie. The manager handed him a printed bill, spoke quietly but firmly. Table in the Wabash private room. Present this immediately to the hosts, Milton Wilson or Faye Taylor Wilson. I'll follow in 2 minutes. The waiter took the bill, glanced at the total, his eyebrows rising slightly. He left toward the private rooms. The manager looked at me. I assume you're not coming? No, I've seen enough. But I followed at a distance, staying in the corridor where I could observe without being seen. The waiter entered the party room. Through the doorway, I glimpsed celebration still in full swing, guests laughing, wine glasses raised, music playing. The waiter approached Milton's seat at the head of the table. I watched Milton take the bill, look at it. His expression went from confused to alarmed in seconds. He said something to Faye. She grabbed the paper, read it, her mouth opening. Other guests noticed, conversations dying down. The manager entered then, moving directly to their table. I couldn't hear his exact words, but his body language communicated everything. Firm stance, serious expression, no negotiation available. Milton's voice rose, carrying into the hallway. What do you mean there's no payment? Her father paid. Archie paid the deposit. This is impossible. Faye, call him right now. I watched Faye pull out her phone, fingers moving rapidly. Heard the manager's response, calm but unyielding. Sir, there's been a payment issue with the deposit. Your current bill is $6,200. I need immediate settlement, or I'll have to contact authorities. This isn't negotiable. Panic spread across their faces. Milton pulled out his wallet, extracted cards. Faye did the same. I watched them hand cards to the manager, watched him swipe each one, watched him shake his head. Insufficient funds. The party guests had gone quiet now, all attention on the drama unfolding at the head table. Milton and Faye exchanged desperate glances. Then, humiliatingly, they began approaching individual guests, speaking in low, urgent voices, asking for loans to cover the bill. One guest handed over his card, then another. The celebration had transformed into collective bailout, everyone witnessing Faye and Milton's complete financial helplessness, without my support. The manager collected cards from 5 different guests, processed payments totaling the bill. The room stayed silent, awkwardness thick enough to choke on. Birthday celebration turned public exposure of dependence. I turned away from the party room corridor and walked toward the exit. Behind me, I heard Faye's voice rising above the others, sharp with panic, trying to explain this as her father's mistake, some banking error, nothing they'd done wrong. I didn't look back. Outside, Chicago's evening had cooled. Traffic moved steadily on Michigan Avenue. I walked to my car in the garage, placed my briefcase on the passenger seat where the gift box had sat hours earlier. The navy blue package was still there, ribbon perfect, earrings inside untouched. I started the engine and pulled out of the parking garage. The first strike had landed exactly as planned. I was halfway to my car when my phone started buzzing. Faye's name appeared on the screen, then disappeared as the call went to voicemail. Appeared again. Disappeared again. I reached the driver's seat, set the phone on the dashboard, watched it light up with each incoming call. Once, twice, 3 times, 4. I didn't answer, just observed the repeated attempts with the same detached attention I'd applied to the contract termination. She'd ignored my text earlier when I was stuck in traffic. Now I was returning the favor, but with compound interest. By the time the call stopped, 12 had come through. 12 consecutive attempts in 10 minutes. I picked up the phone, opened the voicemail app, didn't listen to the messages, just noted their existence. Evidence if needed later. Then the texts started arriving. Dad, where are you? They're saying the payment didn't go through. 15 seconds later. This is unbelievable. You're trying to humiliate me on my birthday? Another 30 seconds. Everyone saw us scrambling for money. How could you do this to me? Then, you're a selfish, vindictive man. I should have never invited you. I read each message carefully, face neutral despite the escalating accusations. Took screenshots of several, documentation habit from decades of legal work. Set the phone aside. It rang again. Milton this time. I let it ring 4 times before answering, held the phone slightly away from my ear. What the hell did you do? His voice came through loud enough to hear clearly despite the distance. You ruined her birthday. We'll sue you for this. You can't just cancel payment like some. You're going to pay for this, old man. I'll make sure. I brought the phone closer. You wanted me gone from your lives. I'm granting that wish. But first, I'm taking back what's mine. I tapped the end call button with deliberate precision. The phone immediately rang again. I opened settings, found phase contact, selected block caller. Did the same for Milton. The sudden silence was profound. I opened my banking app, confirmed the payment reversal had processed. The $4,500 showed as returned to my account. Then I started the engine and drove toward Lincoln Park, but not home. Not yet. Herman had texted back while I was dealing with the restaurant situation. Miller's Tap, corner booth, I'll be there by 8:30. Miller's occupied a quiet corner 3 blocks from my townhouse. Neighborhood place, dark wood, local crowd, booths in back that offered privacy. I arrived at 8:20, claimed the corner spot Herman mentioned, ordered coffee. He walked in 15 minutes later, still in weekend casual but carrying his leather folio. Slid into the booth across from me, signaled the bartender for whiskey. Archie, I've known you 15 years. I've never seen you like this. What exactly are you planning? I pulled documents from my briefcase, spread them on the table between us. House deed, mortgage statements, payment records going back 5 years, bank statements showing monthly transfers to mortgage company, the house situation. I need to understand my legal position completely. Herman opened his folio, extracted a legal pad, clicked his pen, studied the documents while his whiskey arrived. Walk me through this. The house deed is in her name, my wedding gift 5 years ago. But the mortgage, that's mine. I've paid $1,400 monthly for 5 years, $84,000 keeping them housed. The bank will foreclose if payments stop. Illinois law gives them 90 days. He made notes, flipped through the mortgage paperwork. The loan is in your name? Yes, I refinanced my old mortgage, transferred property to Faye, kept the debt. She got the asset, I got the liability. Why would you structure it that way? Because I thought family meant something, because I wanted to help them start fresh, because I was an idiot. Herman set his pen down. If you stop payments, foreclosure proceedings will start. That's your daughter's home. Her home that she's never once thanked me for. Her home where she and Milton have lived rent-free for 5 years, while toasting my worthlessness in restaurants I'm paying for. You're talking about financial devastation. She could lose everything. She already has nothing. She just doesn't realize it's all been mine. I gathered the documents back together, organized them in neat stacks. The house, the party, the lifestyle, all funded by the father she publicly mocked tonight. I'm not destroying anything. I'm simply withdrawing support I should have stopped providing years ago. Herman took a long drink from his whiskey glass. The foreclosure takes 90 days. That's 3 months for them to find alternative housing. If you're determined to do this, the legal process is straightforward. Stop payments, wait for bank to initiate proceedings, let the system work. Can the property transfer be challenged? I gave her the house based on certain assumptions about our relationship. That's much harder. Gift law is complex. Unless you documented conditional terms explicitly, proving the gift was contingent on maintaining family relationship is difficult. The foreclosure route is cleaner. You stop fulfilling your obligation on the mortgage, bank enforces its rights. I nodded, processing. What else? Document everything, every payment you've made, every conversation where they asked for money, every text, every call. If this escalates to litigation, you'll want comprehensive records. I've been taking screenshots since tonight. Good. Also, and I say this as your friend, not just your attorney, are you absolutely certain about this path? Once foreclosure starts, reversing it becomes complicated. You're not just cutting financial ties, you're severing the relationship completely. The relationship severed itself tonight when I heard my daughter toast my absence while celebrating with my money. I'm just making the severance official. He studied me for a long moment, nodded slowly, made a few more notes, tore off the top sheet, slid it across the table. Contact information for a foreclosure specialist and a property attorney. Both good, both discreet. If you're doing this, do it correctly. I took the paper, folded it, placed it in my wallet. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is going to get worse before it gets better. They'll fight back. Let them. I've practiced law for 35 years. I know how systems work. I stood to leave, gathering the documents back into my briefcase. Herman remained seated, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Concern, maybe, or recognition that something fundamental had shifted. Outside, the night had cooled. I drove home, knowing tomorrow I'd begin the second phase. The party was just the opening move. The real restructuring would take weeks, months perhaps. But I had time, and I had the law on my side. They'd wanted me gone. Now they'd learn what that actually meant. Sunday morning arrived quiet and clear. I sat at my desk before 7, documents spread in careful rows across the leather surface. 5 years of financial history laid out in chronological order, proof of generosity that had never earned acknowledgement, let alone gratitude. The quitclaim deed came first. Thick paper, official stamps, notary seal embossed in the corner. I read through it slowly, analytically, lawyer's instinct separating emotion from legal fact. Grantor hereby conveys to grantee all right, title, and interest in the property located at 2847 Butterfield Road, Naperville, Illinois. My signature. Faye's signature, Milton's witness signature. Date, August 14, 2020. Her 30th birthday, 5 years ago. I continued reading. No warranties expressed or implied. Grantee assumes no debt obligations. That phrase stopped me. Grantee assumes no debt obligations. I set the deed aside, pulled forward the original mortgage papers. Chase Bank, $180,000 loan. 15-year term at 3.2% interest. Monthly payment, $1,400. Borrower name, Archie Taylor. Only Archie Taylor. The house ownership had transferred to Faye, but the mortgage debt, the legal responsibility for $180,000, remained mine alone. She owned the asset. I carried the liability. For 5 years, I'd sent $1,400 monthly to Chase Bank, keeping them housed in a property I no longer owned. I opened my laptop, searched Illinois foreclosure statutes, found the relevant section within minutes. Judicial foreclosure state. 90-day minimum timeline from first missed payment to forced sale. Borrower retains absolute right to cease payments at any time. Property owner, not necessarily the borrower, receives foreclosure notice and bears consequences of debt default. My legal pad lay beside the keyboard. I drew a timeline, marking dates precisely. Party incident, July 22nd. First mortgage payment due August 1st. If I stopped the auto payment today, Chase would notice the missing August payment by August 5th. Official foreclosure notice to Faye, approximately August 8th. 90-day deadline, November 5th. Court-ordered sale, mid-November at latest. Then I calculated equity. Property current value, $420,000 according to the last year's tax assessment. Remaining mortgage balance, $180,000. Equity, $240,000. None of which belonged to me legally, despite my $84,000 in payments creating much of it. I gathered account numbers, mortgage reference codes, authorization credentials, dialed Chase's 24-hour customer service line, navigated the automated menu, mortgage services, existing account, payment modification. A representative answered after 2 minutes. Professional voice, neutral tone. Chase Mortgage Services, this is Derek. How can I help you today? I need to modify payment arrangements on an existing mortgage, account number 4477219. Keyboard clicking. One moment, Mr. Taylor. I show automatic payments of $1,400 monthly since August 2020. You're requesting to terminate these payments and stop all future withdrawals. Can you confirm this is your intention? Confirmed. I'm ceasing all mortgage payments on the Naperville property effective immediately. Remove my authorization for automatic withdrawals. I understand this initiates foreclosure proceedings. Brief pause. I'm required to inform you that cessation of payments will result in foreclosure action. The property owner, listed as Faye Taylor Wilson, will receive official notice within 2 business days. She'll have 90 days to resolve the debt or face forced sale. Do you still wish to proceed? I understand completely. Ms. Taylor Wilson is aware of the mortgage obligation. Send all future correspondence to my address on file, not the property address. I'll need written confirmation of this conversation. More keyboard clicking. Confirmation email will arrive within 5 minutes. Auto payment cancellation is now processed. Is there anything else I can help you with today? No, thank you. The call lasted 12 minutes. Professional, businesslike, irreversible. I checked my email. Confirmation arrived while I was still reviewing documents. Printed it immediately. Added it to a new file folder I labeled Naperville Property 2025. On my legal pad, I wrote additional calculations. $1,400 at 60 months. $84,000 invested. Market value $420,000. Remaining mortgage $180,000. Equity approximately $240,000. Set the pen down carefully. The mathematics were clean. The law was clear. I'd given them a house worth over $400,000. I'd paid the mortgage faithfully for 5 years. And last night at her birthday party, Faye had toasted my worthlessness while celebrating with money I'd provided. Now the bank would contact her Tuesday morning. Official foreclosure notice. 90 days to produce $180,000 or lose the property. They could refinance in their own names if any bank would approve Milton with 2 years of unemployment and Faye earning $65,000 annually. They could sell if they found a buyer quickly and settled for whatever they could get in a rush sale. They could produce a lump sum payment, which they manifestly couldn't, given their scramble for $6,200 at the restaurant. Or they could lose everything. I wasn't forcing them out immediately. Wasn't changing locks or filing eviction. Just withdrawing the financial support I should have stopped providing years ago. The consequences would unfold through proper legal channels. The bank would handle foreclosure. The courts would manage timelines. The system would work exactly as designed. 90 days. They'd need every single one. I closed the file folder and placed it in my briefcase. Tomorrow was Monday, a regular workday. Appointments, client meetings, contract reviews. Life continued. But for Faye and Milton, the clock had started ticking. Not fast enough to be cruel, not slow enough to be merciful. Just systematic, inevitable, and entirely within my legal rights. I stood from my desk, stretched. Through the window, Lincoln Park stretched green and peaceful. Joggers passed below, families walking. Chicago living its Sunday morning routine. Inside my townhouse, I'd just triggered the collapse of my daughter's housing security. And I felt nothing but the cold satisfaction of equations balancing after years of deficit. The week that followed moved predictably. I worked, attended meetings, maintained routines. Monday brought a property dispute settlement. Tuesday involved estate planning consultations. Wednesday morning, my paralegal knocked twice before entering my office. "Archie, someone just served you." She handed me a legal envelope, concern crossing her face. "It's from Faye." I opened it at my desk. Complaint for civil damages, filed in DuPage County Circuit Court. Plaintiffs, Faye Taylor Wilson and Milton Wilson. Defendant, Archie Taylor. My daughter was suing me. I read through the document with professional detachment. Defendant deliberately inflicted emotional distress by attending plaintiff's birthday celebration with malicious intent. Defendant sabotaged payment arrangements to cause public humiliation. Plaintiffs seek $50,000 in compensatory damages plus attorney fees. Weak case, legally nonsensical. I'd stopped paying my own mortgage and canceled an event I was funding, both entirely within my rights. But it told me something useful. They'd spent money they didn't have, hiring an attorney to file this. I called Herman. He arrived within the hour, reviewed the complaint in my conference room. "It's desperate and unfounded," he said, setting the papers down. "You stopped paying your own mortgage, completely legal. You canceled an event you were funding, within your rights. Any judge will dismiss this in minutes, but they've wasted their last $3,000 hiring a lawyer for nothing. Can we counterclaim?" "Absolutely. Frivolous litigation, legal fees, court costs. I'd say $5,000 is reasonable." He pulled out his laptop. "I'll file the motion to dismiss and counterclaim simultaneously. Hearing will probably be scheduled within 2 weeks." The hearing came faster than expected. 10 days later, Friday morning, August 5th, DuPage County Courthouse, 3rd floor courtroom, Judge Morrison presiding. I sat beside Herman at the defense table. Across the aisle, Faye and Milton huddled with their attorney, a young man who looked increasingly uncomfortable as the judge reviewed the complaint. "Counselor," Judge Morrison addressed Faye's lawyer, impatience evident in her voice. "I've reviewed this complaint. Mr. Taylor ceased payments on his own financial obligations. Where's the tort? Where's the actionable harm? This is a family dispute masquerading as litigation." The attorney stood, attempted argument about emotional distress and financial manipulation. Judge Morrison cut him off. "Motion to dismiss, granted. This case has no merit. Furthermore, I'm awarding defendant's counterclaim. Plaintiffs owe Mr. Taylor $5,000 for legal fees incurred defending against this frivolous suit. Court costs an additional $800. Payment due within 30 days. Her gavel came down. Next case. The hearing lasted 7 minutes. I stood, gathered my briefcase. Across the aisle, Faye sat motionless, face pale. Milton leaned close, whispering urgently. Their attorney collected his papers quickly, clearly eager to leave. Herman and I walked to the corridor. I stood near the elevators while he made a call to his office. From 30 feet away, I could hear Faye's voice carrying through the hallway as she and Milton emerged. $3,000, gone, and now he's suing us back. We can't afford another lawyer. We can't afford anything. The mortgage payment is due in 3 days, and we don't have it. Milton's response came lower, bitter. "I've sent 47 resumes. 47. Nobody's even calling back. 2 years out of work. I'm untouchable. And your salary barely covers groceries. We're finished." They walked past without seeing me, too absorbed in their crisis to notice their father standing 20 feet away. I watched them disappear down the stairwell, probably avoiding elevator fees in the parking garage. Herman finished his call, turned to me. "That went well, much faster than expected." "Yes, exactly as you predicted." "What now?" "Now we wait." The foreclosure notice arrived at their house last Tuesday. They have until early November to resolve the debt. Today's August 5th. They've already missed one mortgage payment. The clock is running. We took the elevator down, emerged into August heat. Chicago summer pressing against concrete and glass. I drove back to my office, reviewed afternoon appointments, a contract dispute, a property transfer. Routine matters that required attention and precision. Around mid-afternoon, my paralegal brought me August's calendar, meetings marked through the month, deadlines noted. I added one more entry. November 5th, foreclosure sale deadline. The mathematics continued working themselves out. Faye earned $65,000 annually, approximately $4,000 monthly after taxes. Rent for comparable housing in Naperville, $500 minimum. Car payments, insurance, groceries, utilities. She'd asked for a raise last week. Her manager had denied it, citing company policy about annual performance reviews. No increase available until January. Milton sent resumes daily, 47 attempts, 0 callbacks. 2 years of unemployment had created a void on his CV that no hiring manager would overlook. His LinkedIn profile showed desperate activity, skills endorsements, connections added, job postings liked. All meaningless theater. The bills kept coming. Car notes, credit cards carrying balances from the restaurant humiliation. The lawyer's $3,000 retainer now completely wasted. The court-ordered $5,800 they owed me. And every month, the absent mortgage payment accumulated as another missed obligation on their credit report. I'd given them 90 days. Not out of mercy, but because that's what Illinois law required. The foreclosure process would march forward with bureaucratic precision, notices filed, deadlines posted, court dates scheduled. The bank didn't care about family dynamics or birthday party disasters. It cared about debt obligations and contractual terms. By my calculation, they had 3 options. Refinance the mortgage in their own names, impossible without income or credit. Sell the property and pay off the loan, unlikely in 90 days, especially with foreclosure proceedings public record. Produce $180,000 lump sum, laughably beyond their means. Which left option 4, lose the house. I closed August's calendar, filed it carefully. My desk remained organized, work proceeding in orderly fashion. 60 miles south in Naperville, Faye and Milton were learning what I'd known for years. Actions have consequences. I hadn't destroyed them. I'd simply stopped catching them as they fell. The difference I was discovering was profound. Thursday afternoon found me reviewing a property dispute when the doorbell chimed. I wasn't expecting visitors. The sound pulled me from case notes, from the familiar rhythm of work that had sustained me through the past month. I picked up my security tablet, checked the camera. Faye stood on my front steps, alone. She shifted her weight, nervous energy visible even through the screen. Thinner than I remembered, dark circles under eyes. Her clothes looked cheaper, nothing designer, nothing new. The polished woman from the birthday party had been replaced by someone diminished, exhausted. I watched for 10 seconds. She reached up, pressed the doorbell again. I walked to the door, paused with my hand on the knob. This moment had been inevitable. Foreclosure notices had arrived at her house 3 weeks ago. Legal options had failed. Financial rescue remained impossible. Of course, she'd come eventually. I opened the door. "Dad," her voice cracked on the single syllable. "I know I don't deserve this, but can we talk? Please. Just 5 minutes. I need to explain. About everything." I stepped aside without greeting. She entered hesitantly, looking around my townhouse like a stranger in foreign territory. She hadn't been here in 5 months. Longer, really. This home had come after the divorce, a space she'd never properly inhabited. I gestured toward the living room, didn't offer coffee, didn't ask about her drive from Naperville. We moved to separate chairs, not the couch, not together. Physical distance mirroring the emotional chasm that had always existed, but was now acknowledged. She sat on the edge of her seat, hands twisting together. I settled back, waiting. Patient and unmoved. I was wrong. The words tumbled out rehearsed but desperate. About all of it. Milton, he twisted things, made me see you as the enemy. The divorce, the money, everything. I should have listened to your side. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I remained silent. She took my lack of interruption as encouragement. "If you just resume the mortgage payments, we can work everything else out. I'll pay you back for the restaurant, I promise. We'll get on our feet, find better jobs, make this right. But we need time. We need help. Just, please, Dad. Please." Her voice broke on the last word. Tears started. Real ones, I thought. Though manipulation and genuine emotion often intertwined until they couldn't be separated. I waited 3 beats after she finished, let the silence stretch. Then I leaned forward slightly, hands folded, voice level and clear. "Faye, I spent 15 years trying to be part of your life. After the divorce, I called every week, sent birthday cards, Christmas gifts, paid for your education. I showed up when you needed help, and you decided I was only valuable as an ATM." She opened her mouth. I continued before she could speak. "At your birthday party, you told your friends you hoped I disappeared forever. I'm granting that wish, not out of cruelty, out of respect for what you actually want. You wanted me gone. I'm gone. I didn't mean it." The tears intensified. "I was angry. I was stupid. You're my father. You can't just abandon me. We're going to lose everything. Please, Dad. Please." She reached toward me, hand extended. I didn't pull away, but I didn't reciprocate, just sat there, unmoved. "Say something, anything." I stood. The conversation was over. I said everything that needed saying. "You should go now." She stared at me, searching for softness that wasn't there, looking for the father who'd absorbed abuse for years, who'd returned again and again despite rejection, who'd paid whatever price she demanded for scraps of her attention. That man was gone. She'd killed him the night she toasted his worthlessness while spending his money. Faye stood slowly, wiped her face with shaking hands, walked toward the door like someone moving through fog. I followed, opened it, stood in the doorway as she descended my front steps. She reached her car, an older sedan I didn't recognize, probably Milton's since hers had been repossessed according to the credit report Herman had pulled. She looked back once from the driver's seat. My expression hadn't softened. She pulled away from the curb. I watched until she turned the corner, then closed the door firmly, locked it, returned to my office. The property dispute file lay open on my desk where I'd left it. I sat down, picked up my pen, found my place in the contract terms. Life continued, mine, at least, without interruption. Wednesday, August 28th. 90 days since I'd stopped the mortgage payments. The email from Chase Bank arrived at 9 in the morning. Foreclosure auction completed. Property ID 44772 Bine. I opened it sitting at my desk, coffee steaming beside my keyboard. August sunlight streaming through the office window. The Naperville property had sold at auction the previous afternoon for $385,000. Below market value, forced sales always were, but respectable. The bank would clear the remaining mortgage balance of approximately $180,000. Various fees and costs would consume another $30,000. The remainder, roughly $175,000, would go to Fay and Milton as property owners, less the $5,800 they owed me from the counterclaim judgment, less whatever other debts had accumulated over the past 2 months, probably around $164,000 net. $164,000, more money than most people see at once. But they'd had $420,000 in equity, and now they had less than half, because they couldn't manage the basic mathematics of life. I didn't take it from them. They lost it themselves. I opened the final mortgage statement when it arrived that afternoon. Loan account closed. Balance, 0. My credit file showed no derogatory marks. The foreclosure appeared only on the property record, not my personal history. I'd stopped paying my own mortgage on my own timeline, legally unassailable. I saved the documentation in my expanding file folder. Lawyer's habit: maintain records, preserve evidence, document everything. The folder had grown thick over the past 2 months. Contracts, court filings, bank statements, correspondence, the complete history of withdrawal. My phone sat on the desk beside the computer. I picked it up, opened the call log. 158 missed calls since I'd blocked Faye's number. She'd found ways around it. Different phones, friends' numbers, probably calling from store displays. All ignored, all accumulating as evidence of desperation I'd chosen not to acknowledge. The voicemail icon showed 23 messages. I'd never listened to them. Didn't need to hear the progression from anger to pleading to desperate bargaining. I knew the trajectory, had lived it from the other side for 15 years. I selected all calls, deleted, confirmed. The log cleared to empty white screen. Clean slate. No unheard pleas lingering in digital storage. No last desperate messages waiting for moments of weakness. I opened the voicemail tab. 23 messages ranging from 40 seconds to 3 minutes. Selected all. Delete all. Are you sure? Yes. The screen refreshed. 0 voicemails, 0 missed calls. Contact log empty except for current business and professional relationships. Faye had disappeared from my phone the way I disappeared from her life. The evening settled quietly. I made dinner, simple pasta, salad, nothing elaborate. Ate at my kitchen counter overlooking Lincoln Park. Families walked below. Couples held hands, dogs pulled on leashes. Chicago living its late August routine. My calendar showed September beginning in 3 days. Autumn approaching. New season, new chapter. The past 2 months had been necessary surgery, cutting away diseased tissue, allowing healthy growth. Painful, but essential. I'd given Faye a house worth over $400,000, paid the mortgage faithfully for 5 years. Given her $84,000 in payments she'd never had to make. And at her birthday party, she'd toasted my worthlessness while celebrating with my money. The foreclosure hadn't been revenge. Revenge was active destruction, tearing down what someone built. What I'd done was passive withdrawal, removing the support that held up a structure with no foundation of its own. They'd built nothing, earned nothing, maintained nothing. Just consumed what I provided and mocked me for providing it. So I stopped providing. The house was gone, the relationship was over, the financial ties were severed. What remained was clarity, the clear understanding that some people view you as resource, not relation, and the equally clear understanding that you're not obligated to continue being consumed. Herman had called earlier that week, checking in. "How are you feeling about all this?" "Satisfied," I'd told him. "Not happy, not sad. Just satisfied that justice worked the way it's supposed to. Through withdrawal rather than attack." "Exactly. I gave them nothing but my presence. I took nothing but my absence. The scales balanced themselves." He'd laughed at that. Poetic for a property attorney. Accurate for anyone who finally stopped letting people exploit their guilt. I finished my coffee, rinsed the cup, placed it in the dishwasher. My townhouse felt peaceful. No unwanted dependencies, no obligatory payments, no guilt-driven generosity toward people who mistook kindness for weakness. September would bring routine work, contracts, closings, consultations. October would follow with its own demands. Life continuing in patterns that served me rather than depleting me. Faye had $164,000 from the house sale, enough for a fresh start if she managed it wisely. More likely, Milton would burn through it with failed business ventures while she blamed everyone except themselves. That was their pattern, their choice, their consequence. My role in their story had ended. I turned off the lights, secured the townhouse, prepared for the next day. Tomorrow would bring new cases, new challenges, new opportunities to use my skills for people who valued them appropriately. The revenge narrative people might expect, dramatic confrontation, calculated destruction, triumphant victory, had never materialized. Because this wasn't revenge. This was something quieter and more permanent. This was a man remembering he had the right to stop being used, and exercising it. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.